The ancient machinery hummed to life, breaking the silence of 500,000 years. Deep beneath what was once South Korea, the massive underground facility stirred from its slumber. Thousands of cryogenic pods lined the walls, each containing a sleeping human, preserved through centuries of waiting. Pod 7249's seal broke with a soft hiss. The lid slowly lifted, revealing Heijin's sleeping form. Warm air rushed in, replacing the frigid temperatures that had kept her cells perfectly preserved. Her eyelids fluttered as the revival drugs coursed through her system, gently waking her mind and body. Heijin opened her eyes, squinting at the soft blue emergency lights that illuminated the vast chamber. Her first breath in 500,000 years came as a gasp, her lungs remembering their purpose. As the lid cryogenics specialist of Project Ark, she had helped design these very systems, yet experiencing revival firsthand was entirely different from the simulations. The chronometer display on her pod made her freeze. Her mind struggled to process the number. 500,000 years. They had planned for 10,000, maybe 50,000 at most. Something had gone very wrong, or very right, for them to sleep so long. Around her, more pods began their revival sequences. The soft hiss of opening seals filled the chamber as her fellow survivors emerged. Heijin's muscles protested as she pulled herself up, her body remembering its functions after the long sleep. Jaiho's pod opened nearby. The military commander's training showed as he immediately tried to stand, only to stumble. Heijin caught his arm, steadying him. "Careful. Give your body time to adjust." He nodded, but his eyes were already scanning the facility. "Status report," he called out, voice rough from centuries of disuse. The automated systems responded, holographic displays springing to life around them. More survivors emerged from their pods. Sun Mai, their environmental analyst, made her way to the nearest console. Her fingers danced across the controls as she accessed the sensor data. "This can't be right," she muttered, running the scans again. "What is it?" Heijin asked, making her way over on unsteady legs. "The surface readings. Everything's changed. The continents, the atmosphere, even the magnetic field is different." Sun Mi's voice trembled slightly. "And there are structures up there, artificial structures in orbit." Jaiho joined them at the console, his military training evident in his focused expression. "Show me the defensive grid." The display shifted, showing their solar system. Red markers appeared, indicating approaching vessels. The automated systems had detected them entering the outer system, triggering the revival protocol. "How many survivors?" Heijin asked, checking the pod status displays. 9,842 pods reporting successful revival sequences. The system responded. 158 failed during long-term storage. Heijin closed her eyes briefly, mourning those lost. But they had known the risks when they entered the pods. Now they had to focus on those who survived. More survivors gathered around them as the revival process continued. The medical team began checking vital signs, while the engineering crew assessed the facility systems. Everything had been maintained perfectly by the automated caretakers during their long sleep. "We need to establish our situation," Jaiho announced, taking charge. "Form assessment teams. I want to know everything about what's happening up there." Heijin nodded, already moving to organize the technical teams. They had prepared for this, trained for every scenario they could imagine, but nothing had prepared them for waking up to find Earth transformed and unknown visitors approaching. The facility's deep sensors painted a clearer picture with each passing minute. The artificial structures in orbit were clearly advanced technology, far beyond what humanity had possessed when they entered the pods. And the approaching vessels, they moved in ways that defied conventional physics. "Whoever they are," Sun Mai said, studying the sensor data, "they detected our facility powering up. They're coming to investigate." Heijin looked at the display showing their changed world. The surface above them had transformed into something alien and beautiful. Whatever they found up there, humanity would face it together. They had slept for 500,000 years, preserved by the finest technology their civilization could create. Now it was time to discover what kind of world they had woken up to. "Begin surface preparation," Jai-Ho ordered. "We need to be ready when they arrive." As the facility hummed with activity around her, He-Jin touched the cold wall of her pod. 500,000 years of sleep, while the world changed above them. Whatever happened next would determine the fate of humanity's remnants. They had survived the long night. Now it was time to step into a new dawn. The surface team stepped out of the transport elevator, their protective suits gleaming in the strange new sunlight. Where the bustling streets of Seoul had once stood, an alien landscape stretched before them. Crystalline structures rose from the ground like giant diamonds, their surfaces shifting with patterns of light that seemed alive. Yunwoo immediately dropped to his knees, pulling out collection containers from his kit. The xenobiologist's hands shook with excitement as he gathered samples of the changed soil. The ground beneath their feet sparkled with tiny crystals that seemed to respond to their presence, glowing faintly where their boots touched. "The atmospheric readings are stable," Duha announced, checking his instruments. "Oxygen levels are actually higher than what we remember. There's something else mixed in, though. Some kind of organic compound I've never seen before." The team spread out carefully, each member documenting the incredible changes around them. The sky above had taken on a slight purple tint, and two small moons hung visible even in daylight. One familiar, one clearly artificial. "Over here," Duha called out suddenly. The others rushed to his position, where he stood before a massive wall that seemed to be made of living light. As they watched, patterns of energy flowed through it like blood through veins. Duha reached out slowly, his gloved hand touching the surface. The wall responded, rippling with new patterns where he touched it. "This technology, it's responding to us," he whispered. "The energy readings are off the charts, but it's stable. Whoever built this, they're far beyond what we were capable of." Yanwu's voice crackled over their comms. "The biological changes are incredible. The plant life has evolved into forms we never imagined possible. Look at this." He held up what appeared to be a flower, but its petals were transparent and seemed to capture and redirect light like fiber optic cables. The team continued their exploration, documenting everything they found. The ruins of old Seoul were completely gone, broken down and rebuilt into something entirely new. Yet here and there, they found hints of the past. A piece of ancient concrete, a fragment of steel, preserved like fossils in the crystalline structures. Back at Haven 1, their underground facility, the analysis team worked frantically to process the flood of new data. The dormant satellite network they had left in orbit, hidden from detection, was slowly coming back online. Each new satellite revealed more wonders and more questions. "The entire planet has been transformed," Sun Mai reported, studying the global feeds. "The continents themselves have been reshaped. And look at these energy readings. The whole planet is covered in a network of these crystalline structures." He-Jin stood at the main display, watching as more data poured in. The approaching vessels had changed course, now heading directly for their location. Whatever intelligence had transformed Earth while they slept, they would soon make contact. "The surface structures," she said, pointing to certain patterns in the data, "they're not just buildings. They're part of some kind of planetary scale system. The energy flows are too organized, too purposeful." The team had established monitoring stations around their facility, carefully hidden to avoid detection. Through these, they watched as flying vehicles of unknown design moved through the alien cityscape above. The new inhabitants of Earth seemed to favor organic shapes in their technology, their vessels moving with fluid grace through the purple-tinted sky. "They're advanced," Jai-Ho observed, studying the sensor feeds. "But look here. Some of their technology seems to be built on principles we recognize. Like they found our old tech and built upon it." A sudden alert drew their attention. One of their hidden probes had captured clear images of Earth's new inhabitants. The control room fell silent as they studied the beings that now called their world home. They were clearly intelligent, clearly evolved from Earth life, but so changed that it took several minutes before Yunwu made the connection. Cephalopods, he breathed, enhancing the image. They evolved from octopi or squid. 500,000 years of evolution, probably accelerated by whatever changed the planet. Look at their technology. It's a perfect blend of their natural abilities and advanced engineering. The images showed beings that moved with fluid grace, their bodies adapted to both land and air. They manipulated their environment with multiple limbs, their technology seeming to respond to their touch, just as it had responded to us. "They've detected our awakening," Jaiho announced. "The approaching ships will be here within days. We need to prepare for first contact." Heijin nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. They had slept while their world was transformed, while new life rose to claim their place. Now they had to face this new reality, had to find their place in a world that had moved on without them. Above them, through layers of rock and crystal, the changed Earth continued its endless dance around the sun. The crystalline spires pulsed with their strange light, and somewhere up there, the descendants of Earth's ocean life were coming to meet their long-lost cousins, the sleeping humans who had finally awakened. 3 days after their awakening, humanity prepared to meet Earth's new masters. The chosen meeting point was a large crystal plaza above their underground facility. Heijin stood with the human delegation, watching as 3 sleek vessels descended from the purple-tinted sky. Their surfaces rippled like liquid metal, moving with an organic grace that seemed impossible for spacecraft. Kita clutched his translation device nervously. The linguistics team had worked nonstop, analyzing the signals they'd intercepted from the surface. They hoped it would be enough to establish basic communication. The vessels landed without a sound, their hulls flowing like water to create exit ports. The beings that emerged moved with fluid grace, their bodies shimmering with patterns of light that pulsed beneath translucent skin. They were unmistakably evolved from Earth's octopi, but 500,000 years had transformed them into something both familiar and alien. Their leader glided forward on multiple limbs that seemed to barely touch the ground. Its skin shifted colors rapidly, blues, greens, and patterns of light that Kita recognized as a form of communication. The translator hummed, processing the complex signals. "We are the Nexus," the device translated. "I am Song Creator, voice of the High Council. We detected the awakening of ancient systems in this sacred place." Kaita stepped forward, his voice steadied despite his nervousness. "We are humanity. We are the ones who built those systems 500,000 years ago." The Nexus leader's skin flashed with patterns so complex the translator struggled to keep up. The other Nexus beings moved with agitation, their limbs weaving intricate patterns in the air. "Impossible," Song Creator's translated voice came through. "The precursors are legends, gods who shaped our world and vanished. Their wisdom guides our civilization. Their artifacts gave birth to our understanding of science." Heijin moved forward slowly, holding out a small device. With a gesture, she activated it, projecting images of ancient human cities, of the world as it had been before their long sleep. The Nexus gathered closer, their skin patterns showing intense interest. "We were facing a threat we couldn't defeat," she explained as Kita translated. "Our only choice was to sleep, to preserve ourselves while automated systems worked to find a solution. We are those you call precursors, but we were never gods. We were simply trying to survive." The revelation sent visible shockwaves through the Nexus delegation. Their skin patterns became chaotic, communicating rapidly among themselves. Song Creator moved closer to Heijin, studying her with eyes that showed remarkable intelligence. "Our oldest records speak of the Great Sleep," the translator conveyed. "We found the first artifacts 5,000 generations ago. Each discovery helped us advance, helped us understand the universe better. We built our civilization on your foundation." Kaita worked frantically as more Nexus joined the conversation, their language becoming more complex as they shared their history. They had found human technology buried deep in the earth, had learned to understand and rebuild it. Each discovery had been treated as a sacred gift from their vanished gods. The crystal structures, Hejin asked, gesturing to the transformed cityscape around them. Did you build these? We adapted your technology, merged it with our natural abilities, Song Creator explained. We learned to shape matter at its most basic level, to create living cities that respond to our needs, all based on principles we learned from your remnants. The meeting continued for hours as both species shared their stories. The Nexus had spread throughout the solar system, establishing colonies on Mars and the moons of Jupiter. They had faced their own challenges, their own near extinctions, always finding salvation in some long-buried piece of human technology. As the purple sun began to set, Song Creator made an announcement that the translator took several minutes to process properly. The Nexus were offering to share their world with humanity, to help them adjust to this changed Earth. But there was fear in their patterns too. Fear that their gods had returned to reclaim their domain. We don't want to take back the Earth, Hu Jin assured them, understanding their concern. This is your world now, built by your achievements. We hope to learn from you, to see how you've improved upon what we left behind. The relief in the Nexus patterns was clear even without translation. They had feared conflict with their returned gods, but found instead potential allies and teachers. As the first contact meeting drew to a close, Song Creator extended a limb toward Hejin in what they learned was a gesture of respect and partnership. The humans had awakened to find their world completely transformed, but they had also found something remarkable, a civilization that had built upon their legacy and reached heights they had never imagined possible. The future would be complicated, full of challenges as both species learned to coexist. But as Hejin watched the Nexus vessels rise gracefully into the darkening sky, she felt hope. Humanity had slept for 500,000 years, and in that time, life had found a way to flourish beyond their wildest dreams. Mirai sat alone in the deep archive chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing ancient data. Her eyes burned from hours of reading, but she couldn't stop. The truth of why humanity had chosen to sleep was hidden in these files, and she had to find it. The archive system hummed softly as it processed another set of encrypted files. Most of the data had been preserved perfectly, protected by systems that had run continuously for 500,000 years. As each file decoded, more pieces of the puzzle fell into place. Her hands trembled as she opened a particularly large file marked Project Arc, Final Authorization. The text scrolled before her eyes, and she felt her breath catch. This was it, the real reason 10,000 humans had chosen to enter the deep sleep. Namju, she called over the comm system, her voice shaking. You need to see this. Now. The council head arrived minutes later, looking concerned. Namju had been coordinating with the Nexus leadership, trying to establish a framework for human reintegration into this changed world. The stress showed on his face, but he focused immediately on the displays Mirai had brought up. Our instruments detected it first, Mirai explained, pulling up the ancient sensor data. An entropy wave, moving through space like a tide of destruction. Nothing we had could stop it. Every simulation showed the same result. Total extinction of all life on Earth. Namju leaned closer, studying the complex data streams. An entropy wave. I've never heard of such a thing. Because we kept it secret, Mirai said quietly. The public was told we were entering hibernation to survive a cosmic disaster. They weren't wrong, but they didn't know the full truth. This wave, it doesn't just destroy. It accelerates entropy itself. It would have aged Earth millions of years in minutes. She brought up more files, showing the desperate research that had led to Project Arc. The best minds of their time had worked frantically to find a solution, but nothing they tried could stop the wave. That's when they had developed their desperate plan. We couldn't stop it, Mirai continued, but we could hide from it. The deep sleep chambers were designed to exist slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. The wave would pass over us, but we would remain untouched. Meanwhile, automated systems would work on finding a solution. The displays showed the massive computational arrays that had been built, powered by geothermal energy that would last millions of years. While humanity slept, these systems had worked tirelessly, processing countless simulations and possibilities. The Nexus found some of these systems, Namju realized. That's why their technology seems familiar but more advanced. They built upon our work without knowing its true purpose. Mireille nodded, bringing up more recent data. The systems are still running, still working on the problem. And look at this, they've made progress. The Nexus technology, the way they've learned to manipulate matter and energy, it's exactly what we need. She showed him the simulations. The crystalline structures that covered Earth weren't just buildings. They were part of a planetary defense system, created unknowingly by the Nexus as they followed the breadcrumbs left by human technology. But why wake us now? Namju asked, frowning at the data. After all this time, why did the system choose this moment? Mayre's face grew grim as she pulled up the long-range sensor data. Because it's coming back. The wave moves in cycles, like a cosmic tide. The automated systems detected it approaching again. But this time, she managed a small smile. This time, we might have a chance to stop it. Namju stared at the readings in silence for a long moment. We need to tell the Nexus. Their entire civilization is in danger. It's not just about warning them, Mayre said. Look at what they've built. The crystalline structures, their understanding of entropy and energy. They've already created most of what we need to fight this. They just don't know it yet. The archives continued to hum around them as they processed this revelation. Humanity had slept for 500,000 years, while automated systems guided Earth's new inhabitants toward developing the very technology needed to save them all. We need to call a joint council, Namju decided. Human and Nexus leadership together. They need to understand what's coming. Mireille nodded, already gathering the most important data files. The truth would shock both species, the humans who had slept to escape destruction, and the Nexus who had unknowingly spent millennia preparing to fight it. As they left the archive chamber, Mireille paused to look at one final display. It showed the original Project Arc team, standing proud before the sleek chambers that would preserve them for 500,000 years. They had taken an impossible gamble, trusting in future generations to solve what they could not. Now it was time to finish what they had started. The entropy wave was returning, but this time, Earth's inhabitants would face it together. The sleeping gods who had planned for this moment, and the children of Earth who had grown into their own kind of greatness while humanity dreamed. Young Ho stood in the massive research chamber, surrounded by both human and Nexus scientists. The walls pulsed with living light as Nexus technology interfaced with ancient human systems. Above them, a holographic display showed the approaching entropy wave, a tide of destruction that would reach Earth in less than 6 months. The wave functions like a cosmic reset button, Young Ho explained to the gathered scientists. His words were translated into the shifting color patterns the Nexus used to communicate. It accelerates entropy to the point where matter itself begins to break down. Everything ages millions of years in minutes. The Nexus lead scientist, whose name translated roughly to pattern weaver, moved forward. Its skin rippled with complex equations that the translation systems struggled to keep up with. Our cities, our technology. We built them using principles we found in ancient data cores. We never knew their true purpose. Young Ho nodded, bringing up new displays. The automated systems guided your development. Every discovery you made, every advancement in crystal technology and entropy manipulation was leading to this moment. The research chamber hummed with energy as more systems came online. Deep in space, a network of monitors was awakening. These ancient sentinels had watched for the wave's return, maintained through the centuries by Nexus engineers who thought they were simply preserving sacred artifacts. Look at this, Pattern Weaver signaled, its limbs dancing across the control surfaces. The displays showed the crystalline structures that covered Earth's surface. We thought we were building cities, But these patterns, they're not random. They form a planetary-scale entropy manipulation grid. The human and Nexus scientists worked together, combining their knowledge. The Nexus understood things about quantum mechanics that humans had only theorized about, while the humans provided the missing context that explained why certain technologies had been developed. Your ability to manipulate matter at its most basic level, Young Ho said, studying the Nexus technology. It's exactly what we need. The wave destroys by accelerating entropy, but your crystals can actually control and redirect entropy flows. Pattern Weaver's skin flashed with excitement. And your deep space monitoring network. It's not just watching for the wave. These stations are positioned to create a defensive grid. We've been maintaining and upgrading them for centuries without understanding their true purpose. As they worked, more pieces fell into place. The strange compounds in Earth's atmosphere, introduced by Nexus technology, would help stabilize matter against entropic acceleration. The artificial moon they had built served as a massive energy collector, gathering power they would need for the coming battle. Young Ho felt a deep sense of awe as he watched humans and Nexus working side by side. Their species had evolved in completely different ways, one reaching for the stars, the other exploring the oceans before finally emerging to claim the land. Yet here they were, their knowledge complementing each other perfectly. We need to extend the crystal network, Pattern Weaver suggested, its patterns showing intense concentration. Not just Earth, we need to protect the entire solar system. Our colonies on Mars, the moons of Jupiter. The original systems were designed for this, Young Ho agreed. But we didn't have the technology to implement it properly. You do. Your understanding of crystal growth and entropy manipulation is the key we were missing. The deep space monitors continued to activate, each one adding new data about the approaching wave. It was larger than before, its power grown over the centuries it had spent traveling through space. The threat was greater, but so were Earth's defenders. Teams of humans and Nexus spread across the solar system, preparing their defenses. The crystalline cities began to pulse with new purpose as their true nature was revealed. Every structure, every piece of technology developed over 500,000 years had been leading to this moment. The wave will reach the outer system in 5 months, Young Ho announced to the assembled scientists. We need to have the defense grid ready before then. Everything depends on our ability to work together. Pattern Weaver's skin showed patterns of determination and hope. The gods of our legends returned not to reclaim their world, but to help us save it. We will not fail. As they worked, Young Ho couldn't help but marvel at how perfectly everything had come together. The automated systems had guided the Nexus to develop exactly the technologies needed to face this threat. Humanity's desperate gamble, sleeping for 500,000 years while their machines worked to find a solution, had paid off in ways they could never have imagined. The entropy wave approached, its power enough to age whole worlds into dust. But this time, Earth was ready. 2 species, separated by 500,000 years of evolution, but united by the legacy of human engineering and Nexus innovation, stood together to face the greatest threat their solar system had ever known. The Grand Council chamber glowed with living crystal light as He Jin faced the combined leadership of humanity and the Nexus. Hundreds of eyes, human and cephalopod, focused on her as she stood before the curved wall of displays showing the approaching entropy wave. For 500,000 years, our species have been linked by destiny, He Jin said, her words translated into shimmering patterns of light for the Nexus Council members. Our ancestors built the foundations of what would become your civilization, and you have created wonders beyond what they could have imagined. The chamber's walls pulsed with the emotional patterns of the Nexus leaders as they absorbed her words. Song Creator, now serving as the primary liaison between the species, moved forward on fluid limbs. The artifacts we thought were gifts from the gods were actually breadcrumbs, Song Creator's patterns translated, leading us to develop exactly what we would need for this moment. In orbit above them, massive defense platforms were coming online. The ancient human satellites, maintained and upgraded by the Nexus for centuries, merged with newer crystalline structures. Energy flowed between them in patterns that mirrored the neural networks of both species working together below. Deep in the underground laboratories, Yum-Ho worked alongside Nexus engineers. Their combined knowledge had produced breakthroughs that would have been impossible for either species alone. The original human designs for entropy manipulation were being enhanced by Nexus crystal technology, creating systems that could actually redirect and control the force that threatened to destroy them. "Look at this," Young-Ho called out as a test simulation completed. The laboratory's displays showed a miniature version of their defense grid successfully dispersing a simulated entropy wave. The crystal matrices are holding. They're not just blocking the wave, they're actually absorbing and redirecting its energy. Pattern Weaver, the Nexus chief scientist, flashed patterns of excitement. Its limbs moved in precise gestures, adjusting the crystal formations. The improved design showed even better results, drawing appreciative murmurs from both human and Nexus observers. Back in the council chamber, He-Jin brought up new displays, showing the defense preparations spreading across the solar system. Nexus colonies on Mars and the moons of Jupiter were being fortified with hybrid technology. Crystal networks grew between planets, creating a web of protection that would shield the entire system. 3 months, she announced to the council. That's how long we have before the wave reaches our outer defenses. Every hour counts. The council members, both human and Nexus, moved with new purpose. Resources were allocated, teams were assembled, and the greatest joint engineering project in solar system history accelerated into high gear. In space, construction ships guided massive crystal growths into position. The artificial structures seemed to pulse with their own life, responding to the combined will of their creators. Human precision merged with Nexus intuition, creating defenses that adapted and evolved even as they were built. Young-Ho's team made another breakthrough in the underground lab. They found a way to use the Nexus's natural ability to change their skin patterns to directly interface with the crystal technology. Human operators working alongside their Nexus partners could now control the defense grid with unprecedented precision. "It's beautiful," Pattern Weaver signaled, its skin showing complex equations as it studied the test results. "Your digital systems and our organic technology, working in perfect harmony." The days blurred together as the preparations continued. Every hour brought new challenges and new solutions. Human determination paired with Nexus adaptability proved to be an unstoppable combination. He-Jin spent long hours coordinating between teams, making sure every part of their plan meshed perfectly. She watched as the defense grid grew stronger, as two species that had been separated by 500,000 years of evolution learned to work as one. The entropy wave grew closer, its power visible now even to their most basic instruments. But with each passing day, their defenses grew stronger. The crystalline cities on Earth pulsed with power, ready to serve their true purpose. The orbital platforms moved in precise patterns, their human and Nexus crews working in perfect synchronization. "We were meant to face this together," Psalm Creator said during a quiet moment in the council chamber. "Your species slept not just to survive, but to ensure that when this moment came, Earth would have twice the strength to face it." He-Jin nodded, watching the displays show another successful test of their defenses. Humanity had taken an impossible gamble, sleeping for 500,000 years, while automated systems guided Earth's new inhabitants toward this moment. Now, as the greatest threat their world had ever faced approached, that gamble was about to pay off. The combined council of humans and Nexus stood united, ready to defend their shared home. Two species, each extraordinary in their own way, had forged an alliance that would change the course of history. The entropy wave was coming, but this time, Earth's defenders were ready. The entropy wave appeared first as a faint shimmer against the stars, a curtain of destruction stretching across space. In the combined command center deep beneath Earth's surface, He-Jin stood with human and Nexus leaders, watching as their final hour of testing approached. "The wave has entered the outer defense grid," Yum-Ho reported, his hands moving across the crystal interface. Around him, Nexus operators pulsed with patterns of focused determination. All systems are responding exactly as designed. The massive displays showed their solar system, now wrapped in a web of crystalline defenses. Ships crewed by both species held position at key points, ready to adjust the defense grid as needed. 500,000 years of preparation had led to this moment. The first contact between the wave and their outer defenses sent ripples of data through their monitoring systems. The crystalline structures flared with light, absorbing and redirecting the entropic energy just as they had designed. Pattern Weaver's skin flashed with excitement as the readings came in. The entropy redirection is working, the Nexus scientists signaled. The wave is weakening as it passes through each layer of defenses. Hajin watched as their combined fleet moved with perfect coordination. Human tactical thinking merged with Nexus intuition as they adjusted the defense grid, strengthening it where needed. The wave pressed against their defenses with incredible force, but the hybrid technology held firm. In orbit above Earth, the massive crystal platforms pulsed with power. Energy collected from their artificial moon-powered systems that would have seemed like magic to the humans who had first entered the sleep chambers. The Nexus had taken human concepts and evolved them into something beautiful and powerful. The wave reached Mars, where more crystalline defenses waited. The red planet's colonies were protected by structures that grew directly from the surface, guided by Nexus technology and powered by human engineering. The wave broke against them like water against stone, its destructive power scattered and absorbed. All colonies reporting successful defense. Jaiho announced from his station. The wave is weakening faster than our projections suggested. Song Creator moved to Heijin's side, its skin showing patterns of wonder as they watched their defenses work. Your ancestors would be proud, the Nexus leader signaled. Their faith in the future has been rewarded. The command center hummed with activity as the wave approached Earth. This was the moment everything had been building toward. If their defenses failed here, both species would face extinction. But as the wave struck Earth's outer defense sphere, something remarkable happened. The crystalline cities across the planet's surface came alive with light. Every structure, every building, every piece of hybrid technology activated at once. The wave's power was not just blocked or absorbed, it was transformed. The entropy that should have aged their world to dust instead became energy that flowed through their systems, making them stronger. Look at these readings, Young Ho called out in amazement. The wave isn't just being stopped, we're actually using its power against itself. The final moments of the battle passed in breathless silence. The wave, its power spent against their defenses, dispersed into harmless particles that scattered across space. Earth, Mars, and all their colonies stood untouched, protected by the combined genius of two species. As cheers and celebrations erupted around them, Heijin found herself walking with Song Creator to the surface. They emerged into a world bathed in the light of sunrise, the crystalline spires glowing with residual energy from their victory. Perhaps this was always meant to be, Song Creator signaled thoughtfully. Your species didn't just sleep to survive. You slept so that when this moment came, Earth would have two species to defend it instead of one. Heijin smiled, watching the sun rise over their shared world. Our ancestors built the foundations, she said, but you created something far greater than they could have imagined. Together, we've done what neither species could have done alone. The crystalline cities pulsed with new life as both species celebrated below. Human children would grow up alongside young Nexus, learning from each other's strengths. The technology they had created together would take them to the stars, not as separate species, but as one civilization. What comes next? Song Creator asked, its patterns showing curiosity and hope. We face it together, Hajin replied simply. That's humanity's true legacy, not the technology we left behind, but the civilization that grew from it. Every challenge, every discovery, every new horizon, we'll face them all as one. As the sun climbed higher, its light caught the crystal structures, and broke into countless rainbow patterns. Earth had changed in ways the sleeping humans could never have imagined, but in the end, they had found something far more precious than preservation. They had found partners who completed them, who had taken their dreams and built them into reality. The next chapter of Earth's history was beginning, and it would be written by both species together. Asterisk, the end asterisk.